The original LEGO Movie was one of the biggest surprises of 2014, and has since then served as the shining example that just because you might be a glorified toy commercial didn't mean that you had to be lazy about it. It was expertly constructed, hilarious, hid one of the best narrative twists in an age of too many twists, but above all managed to integrate the core philosophies of LEGO Play into its narrative. And now, living up to the original is the challenge of any sequel, and in the case of the LEGO Movie, the second part, being written by the great Lord Miller, but not directed because they were busy doing something amazing. Even if this had the same balance of humor and toy-integrated philosophies, it was the surprise and the novelty of the first that made it such a sensation. In other words, the first was always going to be better because it was the first. Unless the sequel also did something impressively mind-blowing, which as it turns out was not exactly the case, but it did perfectly well in making another enjoyable addition to the LEGO franchise with a different kind of story that builds off the previous film without imitating it, and was definitely closer to its predecessor's pedigree than Ninjago's. Though honestly, I think I vastly prefer going the initially straight alien abduction comedy route than another freaking Chosen One story, even if it is a parody. And boy, I hoped you liked Everything Is Awesome, because now it's a full-fledged musical, and I am thrilled about that. Every song is catchy and/or hilarious, especially the infectious one. I get that it drives some people crazy. I unabashedly love it, except for the sudden little kid voice. I could have done without that. Lucy gets to be a full co-protagonist, fulfilling the critique of the trailer, and nothing is better than the MVP team-up that is Lego Batman and Duplo Queen whatever I wanna be. I love them both so much in this movie, as well as the Queen's animation with her constantly fluid changing form. And oh yeah, Raptor trailer Burt Macklin is in it. He's there. He's not bad, he serves his story purpose well enough, he's just my least favorite thing about the movie. It is still very funny, though maybe not quite as funny as the first, and it could have stuck the landing a little bit better. So the first one does feel like the more finely tuned complete product, but in the second's favor, it did not have a love triangle subplot. And the Raptors. The Raptors are the best. So while it's not a masterpiece, the movie does have my enthusiastic endorsement and recommendation. But for a change of pace, and since I'm super late anyway, I really wanted to delve deeper into the movie's themes and ideas. Which does mean spoilers, so tread lightly. So it's fairly apparent from the trailer that this war between the glittery pink objects and Lego Mad Max is indeed a battle between the brother and sister. As such, the toys take on the personalities of their owners, with the more specific surrogates in Lucy and General Harley Quinn, which becomes more apparent later in the film when their exchanges become absolutely adorable. But while Lucy's and the others' acceptance of Apocalypseburg comes with the in-universe reason that the enemy attacks or abducts anything colorful, she, like the preteen brother, internally harbors the frequent real-world stigma that things that are colorful, happy, and fun are seen as childish and shallow, implying the opposite, realistic, gritty, and depressing, is somehow more deep and more mature. An insinuation certainly no cartoon fan has ever been confronted with. Yes, everything made for young audiences is so devoid of substance, and everything made for adults is so smart and sophisticated. And there's probably no more perfect example of surface-level, commercialized image of maturity than the DC Cinematic Universe's starting blunders. See, we don't have color or humor, and all of our characters frown and kill people without consequence. This means we're super smart and edgy. And that goes doubly for Fan 4-Stick. Anyway, I really like that the movie embraces this topic because it connects to the feelings of a lot of coming-of-age children and fully grown adults that in order to appear mature or be taken seriously, that there are things that you're suddenly not allowed to do or like. There are reasons for why this happens. Toy marketers and parents have gotten into the habit of surrounding their children with things that are only colorful and simple, so we feel like we need to completely evolve beyond anything associated with that time to show that we've truly grown up. And why would children think they need to grow up in a hurry when they're constantly told that they're not old enough to do anything? And our childhood is surrounded by a multitude of milestones we're expected to surpass in a certain amount of time, or else it means we're behind and failures. But the argument against the superficial nature of maturity isn't just in visual aesthetics, it's attitude, as gradual life experience has a way of severely testing people's sense of hope and trust until they themselves often become regarded as childish concepts. Emmett at the beginning is constantly shamed for not just being happy, but empathetic and kind, and told that he needs to grow up, toughen up, and face reality, which means become super serious and even cruel and aggressive. The really admirable thing about this aspect is how it's able to express this issue complexly, somewhat. Because even though the ultimate takeaway is the usual working together and compassion over aggression, which is absolutely fitting for a story that is ultimately about siblings, Lucy's initial determination to be tough and opposition to Emmett's soft-heartedness makes sense. They are being attacked after all. And then Emmett's kindness toward a literal enemy missile, because it looks cute, directly results in his friends being abducted, because regardless of the truth of the situation, it was his fault. And even when I got initially exasperated because it does the trust equals special mind reading abilities if you're truly connected, because only a truly caring person will just take your word for it when you say that you're not brainwashed. But then it flips that around. The real condemnation of the surface level puffed up image of maturity is when it's done merely to prove something or at the expense or put down of others. Basically, that there's a canyon of distance between standing up for yourself and being a dick. Then even after it's praised the idea of fun for the sake of fun, slightly at the expense of the idea that it's okay to like both, there's an impressive way it mutually shows the disadvantage of the perpetually happy ignores reality mindset and the advantage of Emmett's enduring positivity. Because in this story, a certain number of the toys are living in a world where everything really is purely awesome and happy. But then in the movie's climax, they are suddenly dealt a devastating blow and faced with a very unawesome reality, and they can't deal with that. And influenced by Emmett, it's Lucy who needs to remind them that often the best times to keep your spirits up are actually the times where everything really sucks. And this is where we get the reprise of Everything is Awesome. It's actually a bit ironic that Everything is Awesome is the theme song of the first movie, because it actually fits the themes of this movie a lot better. And I really have to say again that the songs in this movie are great, especially the credit song if you really listen to it. In conclusion about this movie I was talking about, LEGO Movie 2 is not as cohesive as the first one, but it is still an incredibly fun, stimulating movie that I'm shocked didn't do better on its opening weekend than it did. There are various theories as to why this is. Maybe people are just tired of LEGO movies. Maybe Ninjago really did break people's faith in them. Some say the advertising was weaker. Maybe the implied gender war scared people off. As for my theory, I, like the great Lady Grantham, blame the weather. And to some extent, the shutdown. But if this does result in this being the last LEGO movie, I'm okay with that. We had a good run.